We're back with three of our guests. Journalist Radley Balco, who says abolish drunk driving laws. Adrian Moore of the Reason Foundation, who's been studying the way other countries deal with traffic, and Sam Kasman of the Competitive Enterprise Institute, who spent years researching the intersection between government and cars. Yes, sir.
How you doing? I was just wondering, since most of the country are illogical morons, isn't it the government's job to keep us safe, and that's the primary goal?
Who wants the illogical moron question?
Look, I'd say that the main function of government when it comes to traffic is to keep outsiders safe from morons. Maybe in some, I mean, you're running roads, just like if you run a hotel, you want to keep one moronic guest from burning down the units of your other guests. If you're operating highways, you want to keep damage from occurring to third parties. To the extent that it involves self-protection, I think it becomes a much, much knottier issue.
And I don't think any of us think, I mean, we all think that we should have laws protecting us from hurting each other, but the laws need to be rational, they need to be enforceable, and they should actually address the problems that they're claiming to address, and you have to factor in unintended consequences and all of that.
Are you okay with speed limit laws?
They're going up in a lot of states because they're realizing that it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with safety. It had a whole lot more to do with the federal government saying, we won't give you your federal transportation dollars if you don't lower the speed limit.
And other
as they've
countries
loosened
have
up,
much higher or no speed limit.
You know, the common denominator in accidents is bad judgment. Bad judgment about how much you drunk, bad judgment about having an argument with your wife in the car, bad judgment about changing the CD, dropping your cigarettes and trying to fish them off the floor, whatever. It's bad judgment. So we should outlaw bad judgment, or should we just punish people whose bad judgment leads to harming others? Let's just punish people for causing accidents, not try to prevent the cause.
But that's after the person's dead. Shouldn't
but then
we
if you
try
know
to prevent the accidents?
Yes, saying you're going to go to jail if your bad judgment causes an accident is a pretty good incentive to not have bad judgment, whatever form that may take.
I would disagree there. I mean, that is, I think you need speed limits if you're running roads. I don't think, and I think higher speed limits generally result in some increase in fatalities. I suspect that's often exaggerated, but I think there's some increase just because cars colliding at higher velocities are just more dangerous. But I do not think that safety should necessarily be the overriding standard in setting speed limits, because otherwise you might well have a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit. You might well have a 10. I mean, that's going to save lives. It's going to waste a huge amount of time, though.
But here's the problem with some of these laws is that when the governments start to become dependent on the fines that are attached to it, and a good example of the red light cameras, where there are actually studies showing that if you just lengthen yellow lights, you can have a much better impact at reducing accidents than installing red light cameras. But of course,
because people don't slam on the brakes?
Because people don't slam on the brakes. The problem is lengthening yellow lights doesn't generate money for governments. And there actually have been several local governments who were caught shortening yellow lights, causing more fatalities in order to generate more revenue for the government.
Who's next?
Yes. It seems like a common theme in this show is that the government makes a law and there's unintended consequences. Is there any
common theme in all my shows?
So is there any kind of tools or methodology that you can anticipate or predict unintended consequences rather than after the fact and people die and come to conclusions based on body counts?
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I think it's what Hayek said, that they're unintended because we didn't intend them.
The more complex a law is, the more likely there are to be unintended consequences. I think that's the only kind of real rule of thumb you have. But the way you get rid of unintended consequences, you have less laws. So narrow the scope of what you're trying to regulate, and you'll get it right more often, and you'll get it wrong less.
Yes.
Yeah. In Germany, people seem to utilize bicycles in public transportation because of high gas prices. What would the results of such a system be here in America?
And a lot of people advocate higher gas prices to get people out of cars, and gas in Germany costs, what, $7 a gallon about?
Yeah, if you want to, they have very high fuel taxes in Europe, and that's how they fund their general fund. It doesn't go to the roads or the transportation system. And if you want to force people out of their cars, the best way to do it is to raise the price. Heck, why not $15 a gallon? That'll really get people out of their cars.
I want to ask the audience, earlier when I asked you, should there be drunk driving laws, just about everybody, I know you in the middle didn't, but everybody else said yes. Did he convince anybody? How many of you now think there should not be drunk driving laws? Okay. Not a lot, not many. And Facebook, on my Facebook page, they're commenting on you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're a hack. Only an idiot would think that's a smart idea.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that rationally, but look, we've seen how this has crept from sort of the drunk guy stumbling into his car after the bar closes to these laws are now sort of creeping in on social drinking, and they have sort of a neo-prohibition tinge to them. I mean, very subtly, the government's message has changed from don't drive drunk to what? Don't drink and drive now, right? Now you're not even supposed to drink anything before you get behind the wheel. It used to be don't drive drunk. To me, suggests that it's more about stopping drinking as opposed to actually stopping drinking and driving.
Well, that's not going to happen. Thank you, Radley Balco, Adrian Moore, and Sam Kasman. Next, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says, government knows best. My take on that when we return.